Most people think success must shine. They post, they boast, they demand attention. They think the world must see the heights they've climbed. But the reality is, the most powerful victories are quiet, invisible to the crowd, unnoticed by anyone but themselves. And this is where most people fail to see the truth about achievement. You might have someone in your life who never brags, who never posts their wins. You see them living modestly, speaking softly, and yet somehow, they always seem a step ahead. The car isn't flashy. The house isn't Instagram ready. But their world operates on a different plane. The psychology behind this is subtle. It's rooted in control, in self-regulation, in understanding human attention as a resource to be managed, not a currency to be spent recklessly. People think wealth is about money, but real wealth is about control over perception. It's the freedom to exist without performing. Those who never announce their success understand something most never will. Visibility is not power. Restraint is. Silence preserves options. Silence prevents envy from becoming sabotage. And yet, few can resist the dopamine rush of validation. Social media, applause, likes, they are the loudest traps. Each notification is a tiny chemical leash, tethering your self-worth to the gaze of strangers. Imagine two people starting at the same point. Both talented, both ambitious. One broadcasts every step, seeking validation, craving attention. The other works quietly, measuring results only by internal standards. Years later, the first has followers, accolades, maybe a few trophies on a wall. The second? They are untouchable. Their success isn't a story for social media. It is a fortress built from discipline, patience, and psychological insight. The paradox is simple. The less you need the world to see you succeed, the more unstoppable you become. There's a neuroscience reason for this. Our brains are wired to seek social approval. Dopamine floods when someone notices us, praises us, admires us. But this constant feedback loop rewires priorities. Your brain starts chasing applause instead of mastery. People who hide their victories circumvent this trap. They delay gratification. They measure their life by competence, not compliments. Studies show that delayed gratification correlates with higher achievement, better mental resilience, and stronger identity formation. Choosing quiet over spectacle rewires your brain for independence. And it's not just about the mind. It's about human perception. People are not rational observers. They are jealous, reactive, and often unpredictable. Announcing a success invites comparison, resentment, and distraction. The silent achiever understands social dynamics instinctively. They avoid the minefield of envy. They accumulate quietly, grow steadily, and strike when the conditions are right. Power is invisible. Influence is silent. Control is internal. That is the psychology of restraint. Emotional intelligence plays a part too. People who never show their success often have mastery over their emotions. They do not need external applause to feel worthy. They are aware of the fragile patterns of desire and recognition that dominate social life. They know that showing off can feel gratifying in the moment but erodes long-term satisfaction. They understand one of the most underrated truths. If your happiness depends on applause, you become a prisoner of the crowd. Silence liberates. It allows you to operate free from emotional manipulation, free from the constant need to perform. There's another layer most never notice. Identity psychology. When you keep your victories private, you prevent them from being co-opted by others' narratives. Public success invites judgment. Did they really deserve it? Is it luck? Will it last? By remaining unseen, you maintain narrative control. You define your own worth. You are not bound to the story society wants to tell about you. Your success remains yours. This is the subtle, almost invisible form of autonomy. The quiet achiever lives inside their own story, untouchable by rumor, envy, or expectation. And then there is efficiency. Every visible celebration costs something. Time, energy, attention. Posting, boasting, performing, it all requires resources. People who stay quiet invest in the actual work. Their productivity compounds. Their results are real, untainted by distraction. The psychology here is fascinating. The brain prioritizes novelty, attention, and recognition over substance. Those who bypass the novelty of applause conserve cognitive energy for meaningful growth. They make fewer mistakes, avoid social friction, and build systems that outlast them. But make no mistake, this is not about arrogance or secrecy for its own sake. The quiet achiever often experiences the same human desires: validation, recognition, admiration. They just don't allow these desires to dictate their behavior. They understand the mechanics of attention. They know envy is a corrosive force. They know that human comparison is inevitable, but it need not poison your life. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is strategy. It is a psychological edge that cannot be bought or taught. It is earned through self-mastery. Consider the emotional dimension. The quiet achiever often lives a life that feels paradoxically lighter. Without constant external validation, they experience a kind of internal peace. There is no anxiety about what others think, no compulsion to perform. Their happiness is decoupled from opinion. They enjoy the fruits of their labor without the exhausting ritual of display. This is an underappreciated psychological insight. Autonomy over attention, over perception, over judgment, is one of the purest forms of emotional wealth. People who never show their success also understand the subtleties of human memory. Public recognition is fleeting. Applause fades. Social media posts disappear into feeds. Achievements celebrated externally often carry less weight than those measured internally. By keeping their wins private, they internalize significance. The satisfaction they feel is permanent because it is anchored in personal meaning, not transient attention. This creates resilience. It creates a foundation that cannot be shaken by outside forces. And there is another hidden truth. The quiet achiever often cultivates stealth wealth. Not to flaunt, not to impress, but to preserve their focus. Their choices are intentional. They buy only what aligns with their values, not what signals status. They invest in experiences, skills, and systems that compound over time. They understand that freedom is not shown. Freedom is invisible. And the more silent they are, the more options they retain, the more flexibility they have in an unpredictable world. Social psychology adds another layer. Humans are wired for gossip, comparison, and envy. Public success often triggers others' insecurities. It invites sabotage, subtle undermining, even resentment from those closest to us. By remaining silent, you avoid these hidden social costs. You can navigate relationships with less friction. You can act without interference. You can be both extraordinary and unseen. The psychology here is counterintuitive. Invisibility amplifies influence. Those who move quietly often shape outcomes more effectively than the ones demanding attention. And yet, there is a subtle, almost poetic paradox. The silent achiever often inspires without speaking. Their results speak louder than words. They model restraint, discipline, and mastery in a way that others cannot ignore, even if they try. People notice, not because it was broadcast, but because authenticity, competence, and calm command attention naturally. Influence without noise. Authority without proclamation. This is a psychological reality many never recognize. The loudest person is rarely the strongest. Consider the long-term perspective. Life is not a sprint. Public acknowledgement is temporary. True growth is compounding, incremental, and invisible. Every small habit, every moment of restraint, every choice to focus rather than perform adds up. It accumulates silently into a life that is unassailable. Years later, those who stayed quiet often find themselves at the center of influence, wealth, and wisdom, without the exhaustion of constant validation. They have mastered time, attention, and desire. The psychology is simple. Internal validation outperforms external reinforcement consistently. And this is the part most people never understand. Success is not about what others see. It is about what you control. Your mind, your habits, your attention, your desires. The quiet achiever knows this intuitively. They understand that human behavior is predictable. They anticipate the reactions of others, but they never let them dictate their path. They operate above the noise. They invest in themselves, in resilience, in autonomy. And when you observe them, you realize something almost uncomfortable. You have been measuring life the wrong way. You have been looking outward when the real leverage is inside. There is also a moral psychology element. By remaining silent, by not flaunting, they reduce harm. They avoid triggering envy. They avoid unnecessary conflict. They avoid imposing expectations. Their influence is ethical. It is earned, not coerced. They shape outcomes quietly, without forcing anyone into comparison. And this subtlety creates a psychological elegance, the power to achieve without the social toxicity that often accompanies visible success. Even more fascinating is how this approach rewires the brain for resilience. People who do not rely on external applause develop stronger prefrontal regulation. They experience less stress. They have higher emotional intelligence. They tolerate uncertainty better. Their decisions are more rational because they are less reactive. They are free from the constant fear of judgment. And freedom, in its purest form, is the ultimate psychological reward. Freedom to think. Freedom to act. Freedom to exist without performance anxiety. This is the hidden power of silence. Imagine now the emotional texture of their lives. Others chase headlines, tweets, likes. They chase the illusion of social validation. The quiet achiever goes home, sits with themselves, and feels the quiet satisfaction of alignment. There is a subtle joy in this, a deep contentment, not bragging, not showing off, not seeking applause, just presence, just mastery, just the knowledge that you have built something lasting, meaningful, and yours alone. And that joy is unshakable because it does not rely on the fleeting attention of others. There is a subtle, almost invisible habit that defines them. They document their wins privately, reflect deeply, and make decisions based on long-term outcomes. Their identity becomes self-reinforcing. Each choice to remain silent strengthens their discipline, patience, and foresight. Cognitive scientists call this metacognition, awareness of your own mind, your own motivations. Quiet achievers practice it naturally. They observe themselves, not just the world. And this is the hidden engine of their growth. At its core, this is a lesson in human behavior. People overestimate the importance of perception. They underestimate the power of internal systems. They chase applause when mastery matters. They display when discretion would serve them better. They broadcast when restraint would multiply results. And yet, in the quiet corners of the world, some people are doing the opposite. They are observing, planning, executing. They are invisible, but unstoppable. The hidden psychology here is timeless. Ancient philosophy, modern behavioral science, even leadership studies point to the same truth. Power is often silent. Influence is often unseen. The most formidable minds rarely announce themselves. Aristotle wrote about the virtue of moderation. Stoics valued internal control over external validation. Modern psychology confirms it with studies on dopamine, attention, and social reward systems. Across centuries, the silent path proves to be the path of mastery. And so, when you reflect on your own life, ask yourself, where are you chasing applause? Where are you performing unnecessarily? Where could silence serve you better? Not as hiding, not as fear, but as a tool of strategy, focus, and psychological freedom. Every time you resist the urge to boast, you strengthen your autonomy. Every time you choose internal validation, you amplify resilience. Every time you let results speak instead of words, you create invisible power that cannot be replicated by noise or spectacle. Success that is hidden is not hollow. It is fortified. It is deliberate. It is an unspoken statement to the world and to yourself. You do not need to prove anything externally because your mind already knows the truth. Your habits, your discipline, your choices, they are the evidence. And this is the ultimate psychological paradox. By showing less, you achieve more. By hiding your victories, you make them unstoppable. By valuing internal validation over external applause, you gain freedom, influence, and inner peace. The people who never show their success teach a lesson most will never see. They show that the loudest victories are the quietest. That restraint is stronger than display. That internal validation is more powerful than any follower count. That true freedom, power, and influence exist not in visibility, but in self-mastery. And perhaps the most difficult part is realizing this in yourself. The real battle was never happening outside. It has always been inside your mind. Which of these habits do you already see in yourself? Which parts of your behavior are driven by applause rather than mastery? You don't have to answer out loud, but reflecting quietly, honestly, is the first step toward the kind of invisible, unstoppable success that lasts. And if this shifted the way you view achievement, consider exploring more insights that connect psychology, philosophy, and human behavior in ways that change how you live. Because the most profound victories are never announced. They are felt, lived, and quietly owned.